breakout session for handicap one. If anybody's missing a cell phone, I do have it. So I know you guys are taking a moment to eat finally, and I'm ready to join you. But I won't have you get engaged too much. But I do want to just ask you a quick question before we get started. So what is one thing that HR professionals have in common? So if someone could tell me, what do HR professionals have in common? Hair is always on fire. That sounds right. Empathy. One more. Hard. Yes. Consistency. Awesome. So one thing that I know that HR professionals typically have in common is we are helpers. We're gap fillers. We stand in the gap. And so this year, ALSHRM wanted to partner with a statewide community organization who could support really harmonizing our role in communities and our organization. By now, throughout the conference, you guys will probably have already seen or heard about Kids to Love and the Drive, and we're supporting by assembling emergency case bags for Alabama's foster care kids. Before I introduce our next speaker, I would like to invite Heather from the Kids to Love Foundation to come up and just speak just a moment about the foundation and how we'll be supporting.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Heather Carlton with Kids to Love. Yes, we are located in Madison, Alabama. However, we do serve children in foster care throughout the entire state of Alabama. Kids to Love started 21 years ago by Lee Marshall. So if you are familiar with television in Huntsville, Lee was an anchor and reporter at both the NBC station and the CBS station, which is where I knew her. I worked at WHNT for 30 years, so yes, I'm a unicorn in the HR world. I worked at one television station for 30 years of my career before I refocused and started working for Kids to Love. But Lee was a former foster child, so she was adopted as a baby, and it has been her true mission to serve children in foster care wherever they are in their journey. So she started in her garage 21 years ago with a program called More Than a Backpack. We provide almost 6,000 full backpacks to children in foster care in the state. And it's called More Than a Backpack because that backpack is used as kids move to another home or back home. It's where they hide their special belongings. But she started with a backpack program. And then she added Christmas to that, where we'll provide about 2,500 full Christmas wish lists to children in foster care. I will say this, we serve kids wherever they are in their journey, and we have over 15 programs. So we provide them with loving, safe homes, with foster parents that take care of them. We are a private adoption agency, so we will provide them with forever homes. We provide a $1,000 scholarship to any high school graduate going on to further education. And 2 years ago, we hit our $1 million scholarship. So education is what's going to thank you. Education is the key to stopping the cycle, and that's where we look for every day. But right now, I just want to take a couple minutes and just say, or a minute and say, our biggest enterprise going forward, we are building a 17,000 square foot mental wellness center for children in care, and not just children in foster care, to heal trauma. This center is going to be for all kids. So if you know of someone, if you have a child that has trauma in their life, we are serving all kids. We have currently 6 trauma therapists on staff, 2 equine therapists on staff, 6 incredible horses. But this is healing children and providing them with an amazing journey going forward. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this conference. I have learned so much so far. You are all my spirit animals, so I appreciate all the work that you do. But if you want any more information about Kids to Love, please come see me. I have a session tomorrow at 8 o'clock on generosity and volunteering and how to get involved with your local nonprofit. So thank you so much, and I truly appreciate the work you all do in all of your communities. Thanks.
Thank you again, Heather. So as I get this next slide pulled up, 5 times of amazing, I'm excited to introduce our next speaker. Every time you interact with people, you're on stage. Joel's Turner career on stage around the world has given him insight that he shares to help you deliver amazing experiences to the people you serve and the people you serve alongside. In a 3-decade career spanning training, consulting, and entertainment, Joe has helped hundreds of organizations deliver better customers, colleagues, and community experience, and have more fun while doing it. He has performed and spoken at conferences on cruise ships, theaters, colleges, civics, and corporate events in 50 different countries and on 6 different continents. He has also been on television throughout North America, South America, and Europe. In 2022, he performed on the Armed Forces Entertainment Tour, entertaining our troops in the Middle East. And earlier this year, he headlined for another week at the world's famous Hollywood Magic Castle. Please welcome Joe Turner.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you all very much. My name is Joe Turner. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Before I start, I just want to come to you from a place of gratitude. It is a privilege to be on this platform addressing this conference. It is a privilege for me to get to meet so many of you. But I just also want to come from a place of perspective. How blessed we are to be in this country, in this room, wearing these clothes, eating this food, with problems that most of the people who ever walk the face of the earth would love to trade their problems for ours. So I know things are wild and crazy, but I just challenge you. I cannot believe what I get to do for a living. I am not out in a farmyard. I'm not slopping hogs. I'm not digging ditches. I'm in air conditioning, eating amazing lunches, and socializing with people who get to help other people operate and achieve things at a higher level on a regular basis. So thank you for letting me take a little detour to that. I know you're eating, so what I will ask is that for the first 4 minutes of our time together, that you will allow me to raise this up so you can hear, that you'll allow me to take your attention to the front. And after the first 4 minutes, we will allow you to eat dinner or lunch, whichever you may call. Imagine that you have the ability to amaze people. Maybe you can juggle, right? Maybe you can read minds. Maybe you can bend the laws of nature in ways that people don't expect. Maybe you can cause things to disappear. Maybe you can take ordinary events and create moments that are extraordinary. Thank you very much. If you need to switch back to eating, now's your chance. But I wanted you to see that because I wanted you to think about that moment. I think most of you heard the gasp. Most of you heard that intake of air. That moment when the bottle appeared and the world suddenly stopped working the way that we're used to having it work. That's a very interesting moment. It is a moment when a lot of barriers come down. That moment when our expectations are just taken off in a completely new direction. That's a very powerful moment. It's a good moment for teaching. It's a good moment for marketing and advertising. It's a good moment for learning. It's a good moment in a lot of different ways. It's an amazing moment. People who do what I do spend 50 years of their life looking for ways to create moments like that. It's true, I've been fortunate to do magic all over this planet. And magicians we have a lot in common with HR professionals. I know you probably don't understand when I say that, but if you think about it, first of all, people expect us to do the impossible with not enough tools. People hear what we do and suddenly jump into a stereotype about what it means. They think they know what it means to do magic. They have a caricature of what a magician is and what a magician does. Maybe you've encountered some caricatures about being in HR. I don't know. I think it's probably very likely. Magicians, we like to organize all of the effects and create taxonomies and lists. And so like we have productions and vanishes and transformations. And so we like to identify all the different effects that people can experience. Some people in magic have done that to a very granular level where there's like 30 or 40 or 50 different kinds of magical experiences. We don't have time to talk about that, so I'm going to talk to you today about 5 broad categories. 5 kinds of amazing experiences that if you were doing a magic show, you would want your magic show to have some experiences in each of these categories. I can tell what you're thinking. Number, what a good looking guy. But other than that, you're also thinking, well, Joe, I'm not a magician. Why would I care? Well, I'll tell you, you're not a magician, but delivering amazing experiences isn't limited to people who do sleight of hand and illusions. We can deliver amazing experiences to the people we serve alongside, the communities where we contribute what we do, the places we live, work, and play. And so come with me on this adventure over the next 45 minutes or so, and I hope you'll come away from this both entertained and having a new way to look at the way that you do what you do. And I'm not going to ask you to go against any of your regulations or your laws or your processes or anything like that. Just come along with me and I think you'll see what I mean. So let's start with, does anybody happen to have a deck of cards? I was doing some card magic. Does anybody have, we can use these. These will be fine. Now, I would like to speed through a little bit of card magic. And I know you're thinking, well, there's several hundred people in this room. How's he going to do a card trick? Believe it or not, about 150 years ago, there was a man named Johann Nepomuk Hofstadter. He was, by day, he worked in the finance ministry of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So he had a desk job like all of us have had. But by night, he invented many of the techniques with playing cards that are still used by magicians and perhaps some cheaters as well, even to this day. And he would do magic using cards for people on the largest stages across Europe. So I think today in this ballroom will be okay. I'll drop the cards from one hand to the other, and I'm going to ask some people at a few different tables to call stop. Wherever they say stop, I will freeze right there, and whatever card is showing, that'll be their card. So I'm going to come down to, oh, lady made eye contact with me. She's hoping that I didn't notice her. She's now hiding. No, it's the one behind you. The one behind you. Yeah. No, I saw you trying to get out of eye contact. What's your name? Wendy, please say stop anywhere. That'll be your card. Everybody at your table is going to help you remember that. And at the neighboring table. Because I'm going to come back to you in a few minutes. And if you forget this card, This is a colossal waste of time. I don't mean to put pressure on you, but I was a management consultant in my early career. We would call this a mission critical task. So one card selected, let's go to, how about this table right here? If you'll say stop anywhere, that'll be your card. Got it? Everybody's got it? What's your name? Keisha? Nice to meet you. So that's 2 cards, twice as hard as a regular card trick. Let's walk backwards. Gentleman, blue shirt. Oh, what's your name, sir? Sorry? That's Soche? Soche? Say stop anywhere. That'll be your card. Thanks, Matt. So that's 3 cards. Let's speed this up. If you will, miss, say stop anywhere. That'll be your card. So that's 4. What's your name? Michelle? Are you a 1L or a 2L? A 1L, Michelle. I always ask. It's important. It's important. How about you? If you'll say stop anywhere, that'll be your card. Got it? What's your name? Tammy, I'm Joe. Nice to meet you. Is that 5? I think that's 5 cards. Let's do a couple more just to make this go. If you'll say stop for me in there, that'll be your card. Got it? And your name? Monica, nice to meet you. And one more. How about over here? There's a big red dress. There's a lot of light reflecting. If you'll say stop anywhere, that'll be your card. And what's your name? Tammy. I got 2 Tammys. Very good. So that is 7 cards, 7 times as hard as a regular card trick. I will attempt to find all 7 in amazing and magical ways, working this room into an emotional frenzy. An HR appropriate emotional frenzy. And I will say, a lot of people say the cards are just on top. Nobody stopped at the very top. Nobody stopped at the very, very bottom. And some people think I've got 7 fingers stuck in there to remember where all the cards are. But they're all in different locations. We'll start with Tammy. Watch carefully. When you give them a shake, one card magically turns face forward. Not that different one. Just turn face up into that. I'll check. Yes, one card turned face up. What was your card? Say it. 8 of clubs. Correct. That would have been good after the cocktail party. But today you're on the ball. I wouldn't lie to you for anything. If you spread through, you can see there is one card face up in the deck. It is the 8 of clubs. A round of applause for Tammy. Thank you for helping. And before Tammy, I was at the other Tammy. You were before, Tammy, what was your card? Oh, wait, no, it was down here. Monica, what was your card? The King of Hearts. Now, I want everyone to see, here in my pocket, I keep an emergency card, which is the King of Hearts, just in case someone chooses the King of Hearts. A round of applause for Monica. You've been great. And Tammy, you were before Monica, and you also had the King of Hearts. 2 clubs. Well, that's close. It's very close. Oh, now he's good. Round of applause for Tammy. So that raises a very interesting question, though. The question is, you were watching me so close. How did the King of Hearts get back in my pocket? You were watching so close. So that's 1, 2, 3 down. Let's use the 2 clubs here. I've got the 2 clubs and the 8 of clubs, and we'll use those together to find Michelle's card. You didn't have the 2 or the 8 of clubs, did you? Okay, very good. We'll use those over here. What was your card? King of Spades. Watch carefully. Left-handed. One card moves into the air invisibly. Work with me on this. Follow it as it goes invisibly through the air. Hovers right over the stage here with this pair of tweezers. I'll grab it between those 2 cards. Now that's a miracle by itself, but it's only a good card trick if that is the King of Spades. A round of applause for Michelle Cornell. All right, I'll be honest with you, the emotional frenzy is not quite there. We're getting there, but it's really more like a polite clap at this point in time. I have an idea. For the next 3 cards, instead of a polite clap after each one, we will abstain. We'll sit on our hands. We'll let the pressure build. And if we get all 3 correct at the end, there'll be an explosion of magical happiness and emotional frenzy. And that brings me back from Michelle to, who was before Michelle? I think it was Matt. Matt, what was your card? Jack of Clubs. If you'll watch my leg, right here. Those of you who are watching the Jack of Clubs, 1, 2, 3. The Jack of Clubs, hold it, that's for you. Then that brings me to, I think I had before Matt. Oh, was it Keisha? Do you know what your card was? Another Jack, the Jack of Diamonds. To find the Jack of Diamonds, I need complete silence and your focus right here. Jack of Diamonds. Six years of college. Jack of Diamonds, hold it. Now you want to, I know, I can see it. And we have one more. Don't tell me yours. Over there. I'm sorry, over there, your name again? Wendy, don't tell me yours. You've been thinking of yours longer than anyone else in the room. I'll try to extract it from your mind. Whoa, picture it floating in the space between us. Whoa, I'm getting the image. Whoa. Oh, it's a rectangle. It's a rectangular. Yeah. I told you I was a management consultant. We start by observing the objects. That'll be $80,000. It is a red card, and I believe you thought of a diamond. Is that correct? You think of a diamond? If you'll watch carefully, left-handed, I won't even look. We'll cut left-handed to one card, and one card only, which leaps from the deck, flies gracefully to my other hand. That's pretty good stuff. I mean, even if it's wrong, I caught that thing. That's pretty good. I'll host. What was your card, Wendy? Now you can say. 8 of diamonds. I won't change it. I'll just show it to you all, and I'll know if I got it right from the emotional frenzy. So here we go. Did we get the 8 of diamonds? All right, well that's a fun card trick. Let's talk for a moment about what makes that particular experience worth watching. I mean, just that has taken me to stages all over the world with 52 pieces of paper. A lot of times when I do that, the first response I get one of two comments. Number one, gee, I would hate to play cards with you. That's one thing they say. Or they say, gee, I would love to take you to Las Vegas to play cards with you. Both of those are wrong, because if you play cards with me, you're going to win. It's God's little joke on me that I'm just terrible at actually playing. And the second thing is wrong, because if we go to Vegas and try that, they will break our legs. They're not interested in people who do that. But when people give me that comment, the reason they do is they're expressing an appreciation for something that they've witnessed. And in showbiz, we'd say talent, we might say skill, but the demonstration of a highly developed skill, we would call that talent. And you want to hit your audience with some talent early on in your show. You know, even if something's going wrong, if you trip on the way onto the stage, if there's a technical problem, whatever the case may be, you can immediately get them on your side by giving them a moment that stands above their normal experience, so that they trust that you can get through the show and that you have the right to their trust to go through the rest of the show. So that's the showbiz version of this competency. Well, let's take that into the business world. Let's take that into the HR department. Let's take that into whatever sector you may be working in. I would say that what we want to hit them with early on in our show is our highly developed expertise. It is our demonstration of our deep knowledge and our deep expertise that is parallel to or analogous to the talent that a person who comes on stage demonstrates early and gains trust. And so you want early on in people's interactions with you, when they're onboarding, if they're new to the company, if it's someone who's been there but you haven't interacted with them in a long time, you want the first interactions that you have with them to inspire confidence. And just think about it. Many of you have kids. Probably you've been to the school play or the church Christmas pageant, and you can tell. I mean, that one kid always comes out, and he doesn't know where he's supposed to be, and he's scared to death, and he comes out there, and You know, it's a little damp. There could be a lot of things going on. And you just know from that kid's fear that it's going to be a long show. Yeah, we love them. They're adorable and cute, and we love them. But you know the show is going to creak. You know the show is going to kind of be a little bit of a stumble. It can have its own charm, but we would approve of that if we were in a professional production and someone came on stage and didn't own it to start with, right? Well, it's the same thing when people interact with you in your environment. What is it about that interaction? Now, it's not unpack your degrees, it's not unpack your certifications and just show them all your ID cards and your membership cards and ALSHRM and all of what your locals and all that. It's not that. It's more about, are you effectively directing them to resources in a way that doesn't feel preachy, teachy, harsh, but is actually helpful and shows that you have deep expertise. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. Obviously, some of you, I mean, you could go old school back to like when I first started professionally in the 90s, you know, people were still doing newsletters, like paper, like newsletters. But now you've got your weekly email, you get your touch point, or you've got some kind of blog, you've got a place on your internet where people might go, some kind of internal resource that people can go and see what's going on in your world and what they need to be paying attention to. That is a great place to share your expertise. Another great place is in your voicemail or in the signature of your email. So every time people interact with you, in the signature or or when they call in, they know that you're sharing helpful information with them. Does that mean, I mean, you might have to change your voicemail moving sometimes? Yeah, but the benefit is people know you're paying attention. They know that you're in control of the stage from the first time you walk on it. So that's the first kind of amazing talent/expertise. We're going to talk about a second one right now. And this is another part where you're going to have to look away from your food for a moment. People know that I'm a mentalist, and they're like, does that mean that you're going to hypnotize people or anything like that? I'm certainly not going to hypnotize you. I mean, unless it's hilarious. I mean, if it's hilarious, I'm not. No, it's not. This is not hypnosis. This is something that I'm going to ask half of the room to focus on. I'll start over here, because I don't have enough angle for everybody to see. So we're going to start over there. They're going to see what happens, and they're going to react to it. And you guys are going to be over here wondering, what happened? So let's just get there, and we'll talk about it. So everybody on house left, stage right, you'll just stare at the center of this disc. Try not to blink. Just keep your eye on the center of the disc as it spins, right in the middle. Try not to blink. Keep your eye right on the center of the spinning spiral. And as you do that, I'm going to count backwards from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, don't look away, 5, 4, 3, keep staring, 2, 1, keep staring. In a moment, I'll stop the disc, and when I do, I want you to look right at my nose, and if all goes as planned, something amazing will happen. We'll do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. If you saw it, clap so they know. Just wait, I'm coming. What just happened? It looks like my head is shrinking down on my neck. It's like the world's worst ice cream headache, really, is what that is. But let's try to get with the other side so they can experience it. So I'm going to come over here, and we're going to give them a little bit longer. So try not to blink. Keep your eye on the disc. And I'm going to go a little bit longer this time. Here we go. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, don't look away, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, keep staring, 3, 2, 1. In a moment I'll stop the disc. When I do, look right at my nose. On the count of 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3. What did you see? It looks like my head is getting bigger. So you guys saw that it looks like my head is getting smaller. These people look like my head is getting bigger. But it's really strange. Now, that is an unusual experience. Let's dive into this just for a moment. In addition to magical experiences that are based on talent, magicians also leverage science, an unexpected result of a natural law. A natural law is built into the way the world works. I was a physics major. If you ever went to a physics class in high school or college, you may have seen interesting physics demonstrations where unexpected things happen, right? And it's built into the way the world is designed. This is based on, I leveraged putting stress on the biology of your eye. And I put one way in one side of the room, the other way in the other side of the room. And because I conditioned your eye to have a certain expectation, a certain kind of stress on it, when I took it away, your eye overcompensated and it looks like it's going the other way. But it's like if you've ever gone into a door jam and you push out on the wall, on the sides of the door, right? And that means the door jamb is pushing inward on your arm at the same time, with the same force. And then you step out and you relax and your arms just float up. If you've ever done that experiment, same idea. This is just an interesting way to do it. There's absolutely zero talent or skill involved in this experience. I push the button and it turns around. I don't have to do anything. This entire experience is based on a natural thing, a natural law that I'm just poking around and finding a secret, unexpected result. Well, if natural laws are how the world works around us, right, then what would the parallel be in our work environment? I would argue that it is our processes. Your business processes are the natural laws of the place where you work. That is the gravity, that is the electricity, that is the light, that is the sound, that is all of the stuff. That is the velocity of the whatever. I mean, all of that stuff. And so the question is, how can people go through your processes and still have an unexpected and pleasing result? And I'm going to give you a couple of ideas. And I know you have to be real careful because this is a lot of things that you do are very regulated. You can't take liberties and you have to be fair, but it's that same feeling of just the unexpected process. The 1,000th customer that gets a special thing at the convenience store, right? Or whatever it may be. I'll tell you, a friend of mine who speaks on process engineering told a story one time about going to an Italian restaurant. This Italian restaurant had, you've probably been to these, where they have like butcher paper and they on the table and they take a crayon and they write their name upside down, it's very fancy, and then they pour the oil in for the bread, and you know the process. Sinatra music is playing in the background. You know the same process. There's lots of Italian restaurants, but many of them have the same process. And one of the most boring processes in that is when they finally bring your food, and then they have that parm grater, they come around and they say, would you like cheese? Say when. Right? And that's a very forgettable process, but you guys know that it happens. She tells the story. She went to eat, and the guy came up and asked her the question about the cheese on the pasta, but he didn't say when. He said, would you like cheese like snow in Paris or cheese like snow in Denver? That is a great question because it has completely transformed the diner's experience of that boring process into something memorable and fun. All right? Now, I'm not asking you all to go out and start asking your employees about snow in Paris and Denver and stuff like that. But the idea is that boring process, you can hide an Easter egg in it. It doesn't cost anything, it doesn't break any rules or laws, and it still gives people something interesting to talk about to counteract the usual stories that people tell about HR experiences, the stereotypical stories, right? The stories that always end up on Facebook. those stories that we don't want. But this gives, what we're going to try to do is feed other experiences into the conversation. And we can do that by being creative and fun. I'll tell you another one. How many of you have a voicemail message that says, hi, this is Joe. I'm away at a conference, but I'll check my voicemail and I'll return it by end of day Thursday. Wait for the meeting or something, right? You've got something like that. Or the classic, hi, it's Joe. I'm in the office but away from my desk. Please leave a message and I'll return your call by the end of the day. Right? You've all heard that. So these are the hits. These are the classics. Tony changed hers to, hi, this is Tony. Imagine you and I are having an awesome conversation. You go first. I'll tell you what I love most about that is that it's not that it's so clever and creative, it's that it's short and I can just get on with it. But it's also fun, right? I'm sure that you have people in your world who have that kind of creativity, or they have a clever or an unexpected way of seeing things. Those people are great resources for ideas like this. So you can hide something in the most boring. What's in the fine print at the bottom of that document? That could be awesome if somebody ever actually read that, right? First person to see this in the month of June gets a dozen donuts. Whatever it is, right? Something like that. Bribery is absolutely okay. No, it is perfectly legitimate. Because if somebody offered me donuts, I'm going to tell the story about donuts. So we've talked about science, and talent and expertise. We've talked about science and natural law. As my time is we've got to stay on schedule, let me skip to the third one. If the science is an unexpected result of a natural law, it's an unexpected result, but it doesn't make you think the world stopped working. Right? It makes sense. The next one, I would say, we'll call it mystery or magic, is the apparent contradiction of a natural law. And that is like bottles that appear, or cards that disappear, or birds that come under a handkerchief, or all of that sort of thing. Things that it's not the unexpected result of a natural law, it's the apparent contradiction of a natural law. Now, what are we going to call that in our world, where people intentionally break a process? Well, that's not always a good thing, and I'm not trying to tell you that it is. But I am telling you that companies that embrace certain amounts of margin around their processes often discover creativity and interesting solutions to problems that they wouldn't have found if those margins weren't there. Some companies build it into their culture. For example, let's say that you're Ashley, and you're at a Ritz-Carlton property, and you've got a presentation at 11:30 that morning, but you've come down to get a muffin before, and on your way back up the escalator, the heel on your shoe breaks. And so now you're there in the lobby with a shoe in one hand and a heel in the other hand, and a presentation in 3 hours, and there will be a Ritz-Carlton associate around you who will say, oh, how may I help you? And you'll say, well, this is a problem, and I've got a presentation in 3 hours. And then they will say, well, it'll be my pleasure to take care of that for you. And they'll take your shoe and your heel, and they will move heaven and earth to have it repaired in time for you to be ready for your presentation. They build in a certain amount of budget for each of the people on their staff to solve problems like that for guests, so that the story can be told of the person who fixed their shoe, because to them, the bookings that they get from that story far outweigh the $200 they spent on fixing the heel. Right? Now, I don't have enough money in my business to give everybody who works for me $200 to solve every problem, once a week or once a month or whatever. And I'm the only guy who works in my business. I have to solve all my problems myself. So I understand that that's not necessarily a budgetary solution for you, But the idea is there that sometimes it's worth going a little bit outside the margins to solve a problem or to create an experience. And there are ways to do it that cost almost nothing. Let me tell you a story. This is now almost 10 years ago. I was speaking at an event in Indianapolis, and at the time I lived in Atlanta, so I always would go to the airport super early because the Atlanta airport is a hassle. And it's my habit to go in, go through security, then go to the Delta Sky Club and have a drink or a snack or a cookie or a sandwich or whatever they've got. I happened to get in there, it's toward the end of breakfast, so they were going to be bringing out lunch soon. And when they bring out lunch, out come the cookies. And I don't know if you are like me, you have like favorite cookies, but I do. And particularly in there, I always liked the the peanut butter cookies were excellent. They were chewy, they're good, peanut butter cookies. And then just the plain sugar cookies with the granulated sugar on top. So those are my two favorite cookies in the Delta Sky Club. I'm not a raisin oatmeal, but I was looking for a peanut butter cookie. So in they come, take away breakfast, out come the cookies, and I'm looking. There's not a peanut butter cookie to be had. Instead, there's this like lemon, white chocolate macadamia thing that somebody says, oh, I'm so creative, look what I made, white chocolate. I'm like, where's my freaking peanut butter cookie? So I picked one up, put it in my little Delta napkin, and out I walked into the concourse. Ladies and gentlemen, I bit into the cookie there on Concourse B. And as it melted in my mouth, the clouds in the sky parted, the angels sang, the light shone down on your humble speaker as I ate this lemon cookie. It was spectacular. And so I took out my phone and I tweeted to Delta, the new lemon cookies in the Sky Club were spectacular. They're great. I wish I had taken an extra one for the plane. And they're very good at social media, and so they responded quickly. And they said, well, at least on the plane, you can get a Biscoff. And I have no problem with the Biscoffs. And so I responded, I said, I love the Biscoffs. They are now second place to the lemon cookie. Ha ha ha, it was a fun interaction. They're very good at social media, customer experience. And off I went to Indianapolis. So I get to the hotel, I do my traditional Instagram. Here I am, looking forward to speaking at ALSHRM. If you saw my Instagram, if you haven't scanned that, that's all my socials. I'm not selling you anything. You can just scan it. Yes, you don't have to buy anything. And so I'm in the opening session. It was that night. And about 7:05 p.m., my phone buzzes. I look at the phone, it's Indianapolis number. And I step out in the hallway to answer it because I'm not that guy who answers it in the actual room. It is polite to go outside and then answer it. I said, hi, this is Joe, how can I help you? Hi, Mr. Turner, this is, and she gave me her name, and I'm the manager of the Delta Sky Club at the Indianapolis airport, and I'm standing in your lobby with a delivery. I would be right there. So I went down. There she stood with this little plastic platter with 3 dozen lemon, white chocolate macadamia cookies wrapped in saran wrap and a card thanking me for my business. And I told her, I said, look, I've seen this kind of thing on social media before. I never thought it was real. I certainly never expected it to happen to me. I'm not a double million miler, high revenue. I was like, I think gold at the time, maybe. I'm not a high revenue passenger for Delta. But there she sat, and I was like, what? She said, well, we saw your interaction on Twitter, and we thought it would be fun to bring you some cookies. And so I looked at her and I said, I can't believe it. This is almost right. Would you like a cookie? Have you tried the lemon cookies yet? And she said, actually, no, we don't have them in Indianapolis. They are only in Atlanta. We had them flown up. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's think about this. I mean, I was amazed. Obviously, that became part of the story for Delta in the way I talk about my experience with Delta. An organization with whom I don't have perfectly overlapping values, right? Sometimes they do stuff that bugs me. Sometimes stuff happens that I don't like. Sometimes I get delayed and I'm still ticked off because I'm like, I gotta get home. So some organizational stuff, some of the stuff I don't line up with them on. And yet, I am a lifelong cheerleader for this company as a result of this woman bringing me these cookies. I can never forget that. I analyzed it. I said, how much did those cookies cost? Zero, practically zero. Those cookies are a fraction of a penny a piece. 3 dozen cookies was practically nothing for Delta, okay? That platter that they were on, one of the little feet was broken. So that was probably going to go out in the garbage in the next, weeks. That was already going to be going out. The gas and the time that individual person spent to give me this story was the primary investment. And it didn't come from Delta Airlines at all. It came from this woman who invested in her workplace and the story that I was going to be able to tell. I have told this story to probably 10,000 people in person over the last decade, maybe more. I'll never forget it. I put it on social media. I have friends in other parts of the world who were very frustrated with their airlines. They'd had bad experiences with Delta. Their response, I never expected a service like that to happen. The next time I have to fly, I'm flying Delta just because of this story. I had a friend in Vancouver. I'm so sick of Air Canada. It costs more to fly Delta, but just based on that, I'm going to do that the next time I have to fly to South America. As a cruise magician. And so they sold, if one person bought a ticket, they sold more than enough to make up what they invested in that. But I will never not tell that story. A few weeks after that happened, somebody dug up a cable by accident in Hapeville, Georgia, and broke their reservation system. It was down for several days. And it was terrible, like a system-wide reservation outage for an airline. Big trouble, big headaches, flights delayed, grounded, can't buy, can't. And so at that moment, I felt like I was their defender. I wanted to go out to the world and say, I know but think about the cookies. This experience that I had, there are good people in here, they're trying to solve it. If you were in Atlanta at the time, they took out a billboard downtown with a real-time clock countdown, anticipated service restoration, T-minus, and 8 hours and counting, whatever it was. And so they had a countdown clock to when their expected renewal was. They were, like Tara was talking about, the idea of sharing information to the people that need it, right? Even if it's not pleasant information, it's not pleasant information to know your reservation system is down, but they were sharing it because people want to feel informed, they feel engaged. So I leave you with this. Find a cookie story. Somebody in your organization will never forget the opportunity that they have to tell the story. They get to look like a superhero to all of their friends on social media because of this. It can be life-changing, not just for that person, but it can change the tone of a culture to do that. No laws broken, no regulations broken, anything like that. So I have a few more minutes. So that's the third one, is mystery and empowerment. So talent versus expertise, science versus processes, mystery/magic versus empowerment, the opportunity to go outside the lines. All three of those kinds of experiences are visual, like traditional magic, like some of the stuff I was doing last time with the cards and the coins and the bottle and the spinning thing. All of those are things that you see. There's another branch of the illusion arts that relates to things that happen inside your head. We call it mentalism. We have time to explore it just briefly. So I brought a couple of books. I have here, this is Dracula. For those of you who are under about 40, before vampires were teen romance. They used to be very scary. Nobody knew like the garlic and wooden snakes and all that. So Dracula, and then this is the book. I was looking for Fatal Attraction. Those of you my age remember that movie with Glenn Close and that rabbit? It was terrible. I couldn't find, but I found Fatal Sin by David Steele, one of the Steele, romance thriller novel writers. And this is in this his sixth novel, David Steele weaves a tale of lust, greed, and murder. The popular interest in the New Age sciences as a backdrop. Appearances aren't what they seem in the hills of New England. Blah blah blah. Basically, she loved him. He did her wrong, and she killed him. And she lived happily ever after. And that's why this became a Lifetime movie. Because all the movies on Lifetime, that's the plot. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to ask some people in the audience to help me with this. Thank you for making eye contact. Right? Yes. No, right here. The one with the look of terror. What's your name? Kate? Please choose a book, Dracula or Fatal Sin. She's going straight to my. Nobody's judging you, Kate. You can go straight for that one if you want to. And in the interest of time, we'll just use that one. If you will, open the book. It's got a couple hundred pages. And I'd like you just to turn to any page you like. Any page you like. And move your finger up and down the page. Stop anywhere. And pick a nice long word. A word that, and you know what it means. It's not a scientific term or something like that. Something that people, but you can picture it in your head. If you got a good word, not like table or car, but like a long word. Something with 7 or 8 letters or multisyllabic. I want to impress this group. If you got a word, pick a nice long word. Look around the whole page and find a nice long word and close the book. Don't tell anybody what you're thinking of. Have you got one? I don't want the interference. Okay, close the book. Pass it to the next table over. Pass it down. Let's go to the other side of the room here. Pass. How about, right there, stop. The lady who's, I'll go with the gentleman there. What's your name, sir? Alberto. So we got Alberto and Kate with a K. Alberto, please open the book anywhere. Move your finger up and down. Stop on any page. Wherever you stop, look at your fingertip. Give yourself like an inch radius. You'll see a couple dozen words. Pick a nice long word. And then close the book. But you saw several to choose from. And if you'll pass the book back toward the front, very good. You guys just pass it back up to this table and to this table and pass it on up here, and then you'll pass it up to here, and then pass it over to this table, and then pass it to Ashley, and Ashley will hand it to me, and that way I can just set it down. I'm not going to look at anything. I just want you to stand. You don't have to come up on stage. Just stand where you are. Please stand where you are. I just want to get you a little bit higher than the rest of the minds in the audience. Think of your word. Imagine that it's being projected on a screen in front of you, right? Like a movie screen or something, in all caps. And you can see the whole word. You can see your whole word. You can see your whole word in your mind. And then work your way backwards through the letters until you get to the first letter. Think of your first letter. Don't say it. I feel pretty good about Alberto. I feel less good about Kate. It's not your fault. It's just you're playing it a little coy. Just kind of keeping the cards close. What was your first letter? Say it. O. Oh, you didn't have an O for your first letter. What was your first letter? P. I was off completely. I was good for him. I had an H. H is your second letter. H is your, okay, I see what's going on now. Thank you for that. P is your second letter. Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. If you will, go to the last letter of the word in your mind. Don't say it. Think of it. Thank you. Think of it, okay? Very good. And this is, I'm going to let you see what I've written. Alberto, what's the last letter of your word?
T.
T. What's the last letter of your word? R. I want you to see, I had T and R. And if you'll let your mind drop in the middle of your word on a random M, I saw an M pass right before me. Think of a letter somewhere in the middle of your word, and were you debating? You were kind of deciding. I saw a G was one of them. Were you trying to measure? Were you like evaluating the distance? Were you trying to find the exact middle? I love this. You and I are kindred spirits, because I'm very, so you were thinking about an R, but you didn't want to repeat the R, and so you're kind of leaning toward the G, but it wasn't in the middle. I can hear some of that conversation happening in your mind. Think of your whole word, and all right, I have made my decision. In a loud voice, Alberto, what was the word you were thinking of?
Optometrist.
Optometrist. And Kate, what was your word? Photographer. Now, I will tell you, I don't really believe in mind reading, but I do believe in strong theater. And that's why I wrote the words optometrist and photographer here on the card. A round of applause for my helpers. So the idea of mentalism is a very powerful experience, right? The idea that someone could peek around and sort of see a letter that you randomly chose, or maybe hear you debating with yourself about a decision, that's a very powerful experience. Now I'll tell you, there's no sorcery, I'm not psychic, I'm Presbyterian. There's no devil bargains or anything, I promise. This is all, but the experience that it gives to the person on the other side is a very intimate moment when it feels like there's someone in there with you, right? Even just a peek, just for a split second. That is a very intimate, there's an immediacy to that. When you feel like you're not even finishing your thought before someone is telling you what you're thinking, right? And you're relating to that right now with a worried look on your face. It's over, it's fine. So, this is what I would call, you would call it telepathy, you could call it all kinds of things where thoughts are shared between two minds on stage. Mentalism, let's call it contact, all right? A special kind of contact where two minds share but a single thought. And all the way back into vaudeville and before, there were acts who did this. There are multiple couple acts today who do this. And the versions that I do in my shows, it's typically solo, and I'm working with people in the audience and telling them what they're thinking. So if that immediacy is what makes that so powerful as an entertainment, what can we find that would parallel that in the way that we engage with the people we work with and the people we work for and the people we serve? And I would say it is our communication, but particularly in view of our response time. There was a time in my early career when you could get a letter from a client in the mail with a stamp, and you could open it, and then you could respond later. You had time to focus your thoughts, maybe get legal to look at something, maybe there was a time when you had time to respond. And you also had a whole different list of potential excuses that something was lost in the mail, or it was delayed, or no, it didn't arrive till Thursday, or it really came Tuesday. There's a lot of little ploys that you could use to get around so that you had a longer response time. And then came fax machines, right? When I was in college, and some of you are not old enough to remember, but fax machines, and then email, and then like Lotus Notes and all of those things, those like direct messaging tools, CC Mail, all that we used to have. And then, holy smokes, text messaging and cell phone email. There is so little forgiveness in terms of response time. Social media, remember the Delta story? They responded to me in less than 5 minutes. They have a whole team. They've made a reputation for that. Lots of companies do that. Certainly AI is transforming the way that is handled, and I will tell you my pros and cons about that in another presentation someday. It's inevitable that we have to deal with it, but there are smart ways and maybe some less virtuous ways to deal with it. But for today, what I would just tell you is the closer to zero the response time becomes, the more intimately engaged the recipient feels in the process. They feel that you have paid attention to what they asked, and that you may actually be working on trying to help them in some way. Now, all of us cannot sit with our phones and tablets on 24 hours a day to respond immediately. So it is absolutely fair to set expectations that, I respond at 10:30 and at 2:30 and at end of day. Those are the windows where I have to respond. But you will be responded to if you get your message. So those kinds of expectations that are set and met create a trust in how intimate that moment can be. Because there's nothing that feels as much as you're being seen as when somebody at the big office, somebody at Delta headquarters, responds to your tweet and asks you, please send me a screenshot of your ticket so I can take a look at this system. We all want to feel like the exception to the rule, right? That kind of also ties back into the one right above, the magic and empowerment. How many of you have ever been that person who got an unexpected upgrade? Maybe you didn't qualify for it, but they gave it to you because you were nice. Or you got, I don't know about how it is where you live. Where I live, we have like a Mexican restaurant and a Wendy's and 4 other Mexican restaurants and a pizza place and then 2 more Mexican restaurants. We love it. And my wife loves it. We have our special ones that we go to for certain things. And in the mail comes those little coupons that say, this, 10% off your next meal, and you get there and you realize that the small print is expired, but they honor it anyway. Don't you feel like, man, yes, I got the 10% even though it expired last week? People crave the ability to have trust built through an immediate demonstration of your credibility, through your talent, or your expertise, through the way that you help them navigate through processes in ways that give them interesting stories to tell. People want to trust you because they know that you're not locked into a reading of a process that doesn't have room for some grace. They know that they can trust you to respond within a certain amount of time. And the fifth one I would say, just in closing, because I have to wrap this up, I would call it, instead of 2 minds, the last one would be a prediction. And I don't have time to do a full prediction for you right now, but the idea that there's not another person on the other end, the idea that the psychic can visualize what's happening in the future, or they know where the body is buried in that TV crime movie, right? Those kind of, which I don't believe in that, but it's an interesting experience theatrically. The parallel to that in our world is the ability to spot trends that are happening in our industry that have an impact. You're not creating the future necessarily, but you are spotting it on behalf of the people who it's going to affect. So to them, you are telling the future. To you, it's a function of your expertise that allows you to see what's happening and what's coming down the pipeline. And then your ability to communicate that back to them makes it look like you're quote-unquote psychic. And the ability to do that makes you a trusted and credible resource for things that have a real impact in their lives. So that is the last of the 5 kinds. And I would say, as you're doing that, when you're reading HR Professionals Magazine, when you're following along with the information that every one of our sponsors is putting out, when you follow Tara's free stuff, when you follow the other speakers and breakout sessions, you're getting fed information that can feed into the way you communicate your expertise to people on an ongoing basis. So this isn't just a process that you have to follow through linearly. It's like a spice rack. And I would challenge you to spin it every time you have a chance and pick one of them and see what you can add to the way you deliver experiences to your audience to help elevate it from the ordinary to the extraordinary. My name is Joe Turner. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. I hope you had fun, yes? Yeah, all right. If you haven't already seen it, we'll see you all next time. Thank you all very much. I'll hand it back to Ashley.
Well, that was a spectacular experience.